Two skin diseases, two organisms, and surprisingly similar names, dermatophytosis and dermatophilosis, can both cause crusting, scaling, and hair loss in animals. But they are actually caused by completely different organisms. So, how do you tell them apart? In this video, we'll break down the differences between dermatophytosis and dermatophilosis, including their causes, lesions, transmission, diagnosis, and treatment. Let's start with dermatophytosis. Dermatophytosis is commonly known as ringworm, although it isn't actually caused by a worm. It is a superficial fungal infection caused by fungi called dermatophytes. Important genera include Microsporum and Trichophyton. These fungi mainly invade tissues containing keratin, such as the skin, hair, and nails. That's why lesions are usually found on the superficial parts of the skin and hair. So what does it look like? A classic lesion is a circular or irregular area of alopecia with scaling and crusting. The skin may appear red and inflamed, although the severity can vary. In some animals, especially cats, the lesions may be relatively subtle. And here's an important point. The appearance alone isn't enough to confidently diagnose dermatophytosis. Other skin diseases can produce very similar lesions. Dermatophytosis can spread through direct contact with an infected animal. But that's not the only route. Fungal spores can contaminate the environment, including bedding, grooming equipment, furniture, and other surfaces. This is especially important because some dermatophytes can be zoonotic, meaning they can potentially infect humans. So when dealing with a suspected case, hygiene and environmental cleaning are important. Now, let's look at dermatophilosis. Despite the very similar name, dermatophilosis is not a fungal infection. It is caused by a bacterium called Dermatophilus congolensis. This organism can affect a variety of animals, but it is particularly important in livestock. It tends to invade the superficial skin and can produce characteristic crusting and scab formation, conditions that keep the skin wet can increase the risk of disease. This is why dermatophilosis is sometimes associated with prolonged wet weather or high humidity. The classic lesion of dermatophilosis is a crust or scab with tufts of hair sticking through it. When these crusts are removed, the affected hairs may come away with them. This can create a characteristic appearance, sometimes described as a paintbrush-like lesion. Lesions are commonly found on areas such as the back and other parts of the body, depending on the species and environmental conditions. Again, though, appearance alone isn't enough for a definitive diagnosis. Dermatophytosis. It is caused by fungi called dermatophytes, such as Microsporum and Trichophyton. It commonly affects keratinized tissues like skin and hair, and may produce circular areas of alopecia, scaling, and crusting. Dermatophilosis. It is caused by the bacterium Dermatophilus congolensis. It commonly produces crusting and scab formation, particularly under conditions that promote prolonged skin moisture. So, although their names sound almost identical, the underlying causes are completely different. So, how do veterinarians actually distinguish between the two? First, the history and physical examination can provide important clues. For suspected dermatophytosis, diagnostic methods can include examination of hairs and skin samples, fungal culture, and other laboratory tests. For dermatophilosis, samples from the crusts or affected skin can be examined to look for the characteristic bacteria. Microscopic examination can be particularly useful. The important takeaway is that similar-looking skin lesions can have completely different causes, so laboratory testing may be necessary to confirm the diagnosis. Treatment depends on the underlying cause, the animal species, the severity of disease, and other factors. Because dermatophytosis is fungal, management focuses on controlling the fungal infection and preventing environmental contamination. Dermatophilosis, being bacterial, is managed differently and may require appropriate antimicrobial treatment alongside management of factors such as moisture and skin damage. This is why simply looking at a skin lesion and guessing the cause isn't a good idea. The correct diagnosis comes first. And that's the difference between dermatophytosis and dermatophilosis. They may sound almost identical, but remembering the causative organism makes the distinction much easier. If you're a veterinary or animal science student, save this video for revision and subscribe for more simple veterinary concepts explained without the complicated jargon.